again.
You have to do it again.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, I'll say here. Oh, yeah, it's about the two parcels going, one for the park parcel, going to the schools. Yeah, I read the agenda.
All right, the Parks Committee will come to order, and we'll note Alderman Nicholson and Alderman Burnett are excused. We have Alderman Johnson, Alderperson Dorff, Alderman Weary. Thank you for filling in for a couple minutes.
You're welcome.
Can I have an approval of the agenda?
Second,
Motion by
Johnson.
Johnson, second by Dorff. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Dorff, second by Johnson. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Motion carried. Regular business. Number 1, consideration with possible action on the request by the Green Bay Public School District for the city to deed 1.02 acres of Fort Howard Park to Jefferson School.
So please note that I did hand out a revised map from the agenda. This is the preferred graphic showing a slightly different property trade alignment over what the other graphic showed. Recently, the Green Bay School District approved converting Jefferson School into a Head Start program. School staff contacted the city and requested that the city either donate or sell property adjacent to the school so that they could install a dedicated playground to serve the program. And you can see that area highlighted on that map that I handed out. The proposed playground would have walkways around it with rubberized surfacing. The playground would be fenced off and gated during the school hours, but in the off hours and on weekends, it would be open to the public and would not be locked. And then if you could note that, part of the school, you can actually see that on the graph, is actually built on city property. So what we're proposing to do is to kind of clean up the property lines and grant them the property to install the playground. This is the same location that previously there was a playground. There you can see it on this base map. Earlier this year, we actually moved that playground off to the side, and it's currently located there. So it's a brand new playground. The playground that we installed serves ages kids 2 to 12, whereas the one the school district would build would serve ages 2 to 5. So it's more of a top playground instead of a larger structure. We moved ours out of the way a little bit more to be closer to our parking program and the shelter and the splash pad. At the time, we didn't really know that this was on the agenda or on the slate. So it actually works out fairly nice in the fact that we did move the playground. So after we considered it, we do recommend, or what we recommended to the school district is instead of the school selling this property, or instead of the city selling this property to the school, what we would instead recommend is that at Keller School, they grant us a 25-year, 30-foot wide trail easement for the expansion of the West Side Trail. And I'll go over that with you a little bit more. That's the actual next item on the agenda. But it's something that we reviewed with the school district. Melissa Thiel-Collar, who's with the school district law department, is here to answer any questions if you have any. But ultimately, they have agreed to the easement with the 25-year contingency where it can be extended beyond that if there's no other options for relocating the trail in the future. And you'll see what those options are in the next agenda item. So if you were to consider approving this, what I would recommend is that you make it recommend approval. It should be contingent upon our law department review and approval of the final agreements and the deeds, and also the proposed trail easement would happen the same time as the deed transfer. So it all gets done jointly and together.
Alderman Dorff?
And we are not paying anything for this playground, right? We're not.
Correct.
This is not.
Correct. All
Right.
costs associated with this project would be on the school district. So what they would do is they would actually have to hire a surveyor and complete a CSM to subdivide that land off. The school district has agreed to paying the CSM costs for that. So there would be no cost to the city for the Jefferson School project.
Okay.
There would be a cost to the city for the Keller project, since
course,
that's
'cause
the
it's
one that
our
we're
project.
proposing to do.
Right.
Do we know what the assessed value of this 1.09 acres is?
I do not know the assessed value. I did not look that up with the assessor's office, because what we propose is more of a property trade,
Okay.
or a trade for an easement versus
Sure.
value.
It's kind of zero, isn't it? Because,
Appraised value maybe would be the more
right,
appropriate
because
term.
it's not
So,
assessed.
So my only question, Dan, is, and I want to make sure that we're, at least having the conversation in that, we're permanently giving up over an acre of property here in exchange for a 25-year easement. And it's hard for us to compare values on that without, some kind of numbers, and not that numbers are the only way that you assess value, but I just want to make sure that, if we're using that easement as a way to connect trails, and we're only kind of guaranteed that connectivity for 25 years, was there any consideration given to a more long-term
Well,
easement?
we could kind of talk about that base map if you want, but really there's a railroad right-of-way that is not abandoned. That at some point, if it ever becomes abandoned, that would actually be the preferred trail location versus going around Keller School.
I see, okay.
So what we would recommend is there be language written in the easement that the school district would approve and our law department would approve, that if the railroad ever becomes abandoned and there's a potential for the city to reroute the trail along that corridor, then we would abandon the easement that's in place at Keller.
Okay.
And if that never happens, then there'd be a clause that the easement would just continue
Yeah,
eventually.
in an acre over here, right, I doubt that there's any utilities or anything rented there. It doesn't have, it's not like worth $1 million, right? So that doesn't necessarily concern me as much, and, but and I know there's separate issues, but I really wanted to understand why we're only asking for a 25-year easement, and I guess that explains it.
And I guess I would say that there is to the community, there's a benefit, because outside of school hours, the children in the area can use that playground, and they can maybe use it during summer unless there are summer school programs. So based on that, I would like to move to approve.
Motion by Alder Dorf to approve.
Would you like to put the contingencies on
Yes,
it that I
with
mentioned?
every contingency that you've mentioned
Okay.
regarding the simultaneous easement being had at Keller's, or being,
Correct, so it would be
Right.
contingent
Contingent
upon the
upon.
law department review and approval of the agreements,
okay.
and also contingent upon the easement happening the same time as the deed property transfer.
That's exactly what I was thinking, so put that right down there. That's the motion.
Dorf, second by Johnson for the Dorf easement.
Right. That's
It
a
has
good
to
name.
fill in.
It's a
You
good
get
name,
names.
you get names.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Number 2, consideration with possible action on the city entering into a 25-year trail easement agreement with the Green Bay Public School District at Keller School.
And in the agenda packet, you'll see this easement graphic. If you don't have, you can pass that down to Alder Dorf for her review. That is what we're actually proposing to do out there. I did give you a copy of our standard trail map, which shows the West Side Trail and how it would be connected. And then if you go to the second page of that 11 by 17 plan, this actually shows how the Village of Howard is going to make their connection from the Mountain Bay Trail to Taylor Street, which is located right here on the map. So it's kind of the lower right-hand corner. So our goal is to get from Bond Street to Taylor Street in one way, shape, or form. And if you look at this map, which is the aerial photo, you can see Keller School is right here. So what we would do is our trail would come right up to, it currently ends on Bond. We would follow the road up to Keller School. We would go around the school on the east and the north. And then we are currently in discussions with Bay City Baptist Church to get a trail easement through their property to get us to Taylor Street up there. So we just met with the church today. As it turns out, they bought that parcel to the north about 3 months ago. And we had our first discussion with them today, and they're very interested in a multi-use trail running through their property. There are quite a few wetlands in that property, so it's going to be difficult to fit the trail in along with what they want to do, but they definitely are very interested in working with us. They do have to delineate the wetlands first, which can't be done until June of next year before we can put together a site plan and an easement agreement with them. But conceptually, they are in favor of it.
Okay, do you have any questions?
Motion?
Would you like to make it this time?
No, it's the
Move to
door
approve.
easement.
All right, move
It's
to
door
approve
easement.
the Dorf easement
And I would make that contingent upon the law department
Contingent
review and
on
approval
the
of the
law
easement.
department review of the other things that we talked about.
Motion by Dorf, second by Johnson, to approve the Dorf easement. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Now you guys can't adjourn.
And your director's report's here, so if you want to read it, or?
I just have a couple of things to point out here. So Fireman's Park, we've been talking about that trail for a while.
We'll be officially adjourned, but
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
can, yeah,
Did you-
I think once Mark leaves. we're-
Oh, yeah, we have
But you
to.
can-
I-
You guys really, you don't need me to adjourn, right?
Well, why don't we make a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Johnson.
Second?
Second, Dorf. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Thank you. Post-meeting director's report
All right.
for the loyal watchers and listeners.
There you go. I just have one or two quick things here. So we just replaced that trail from Stony Brook Lane to South Beaver Dam Drive behind Fireman's Park. We talked about that at a recent park committee. So Public Works coordinated and funded the asphalt replacement, and then Parks coordinated and funded the site restoration. So that's done. The Red Smith shelter project is done, and there was a ribbon cutting ceremony on November 4th for that one. And then the other thing I wanted to mention here is that the walk connection on San Jose cul-de-sac to the West Side Trail, that's done now too.
Looks great. I was out doing a
So-
newsletter on Sunday and saw it.
Yeah, so everything else is kind of updated in this report. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're still short one.
What's that?
We're still short one.
Yeah.
If they have four down there.